Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
8:06 here as we plow into our fourth hour. If you've missed the first three, please do subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a beat. And you will hear our interview with Senator Roger Marshall from the last hour as a preview to his committee hearing today with the Secret Service and FBI side by side, so they can't pass the buck. How about that? I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Hey, Joe Concha's here. He, of course, a media analyst over there at Fox News Channel, good friend of ours, and author of a brand new book, Progressively Worse: Why Today's Democrats Ain't Your Daddy's Donkeys. That's on sale July 30th. And, Joe, good timing there, considering Kamala Harris sort of personifies exactly what you're talking about there. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know how it works in the book industry, right? Where when you write the book, it takes a couple of months for it to go through the legal process and get out the bookshelves. So this somehow I stuck it within like 1 foot of the pin as far as the timing, because you have this party that now has a nominee who hasn't earned one vote to get the nomination. And when she ran in 2020, she didn't even get to 2020 because she had to drop out in 2019 and didn't get one vote during that election cycle either. Yet their bumper sticker is, "We're here to save democracy from Donald Trump. Vote for us and our installed candidate. Yay." Oh. So, yeah, this ain't your daddy's donkeys, that's for sure.
And they have the hubris of calling themselves a people-powered movement. That's what Kamala Harris referred to it the other day. People, yeah, well, I mean, a couple of people, you know, the big money donors and the powerful elites. The media has obviously very quickly shifted gears from propping up Joe Biden to propping up Kamala Harris now. But is it odd to you that they're – I know already it's not odd to you because you get paid to watch these people. But isn't it amazing the hubris and the shamelessness in that there's no longer any questions about the president's health, about who covered it up, the fact that Kamala Harris clearly was part of that cover-up, the media was part of the cover-up, not to mention the behind-the-scenes Macbeth-like maneuvers to get Joe Biden out and Kamala Harris entrenched. I mean, this is the kind of thing that investigative reporters who cover politics would have loved to pull the strings on any time in the last 50 years until right now.
The last month, Larry, when you think about, Julie, like as far as what we have witnessed, what is it today, July 30th? The debate was, June 27th? And everything that's transpired since then, as far as Biden has a horrible night, everybody wants him out, no, he's going to stay, oh, no, the Supreme Court says that Trump may have some immunity, oh, that documents case down in Florida, yeah, that's gone, Jack Smith, you're out of here. Oh, then Donald Trump is almost assassinated on national television, which also the media has just kind of been like, oh, well, a couple of weeks ago, I guess we don't really have too many questions about this anymore. But thank God the House GOP will be doing that today with the Secret Service and the FBI, because so many questions around that. And then Kamala Harris just gets installed seamlessly, and no one wants to look at her record, right? Yeah. Or the records being changed like before our eyes. Like, no, actually, she's for fracking, or, you know, she really wasn't in charge of the border. And then you think of all the other positions that she has taken. And again, this is compared to like John F. Kennedy, who was for massive tax cuts and strong military, or President Carter, who was actually pro-life, which is unthinkable now to have a Democrat in the Oval Office with that label next to him, or Bill Clinton actually had a balanced budget amendment and the end of welfare as far as the era of big government is over. And then Barack Obama was known as the deporter-in-chief. He deported so many people. The left hated that. And then you compare it to this party now and their nominee. You have a nominee, guys, who wants to, as I said, end fracking, end the fossil fuel industry. Oh, if you live in Arizona, she wants to abolish ICE. She doesn't believe in border wall construction or any sort of security, doesn't believe in remain in Mexico. And then you go down the list. She wants to end private health insurance, but then give health insurance to illegal immigrants? I mean, I could go on, but we got finite time. But that's now their nominee that they're embracing and bear-hugging, especially by the media, when she is the most extreme, radical person who's ever run for president, including Bernie Sanders.
Chapter 7, you titled it something we hear quite often on this radio station, because Chris Plant says this all the time. It's really good to be a Democrat. And you give a really interesting example and a breakdown of what happened with the Fetterman election. And Fetterman's been great lately. He's been a very reasonable Democrat. But his election, you talk about how, you know, he had real problems, real health problems, and yet the media just gave him a pass. Tell us what you wrote about in that, because I thought it was a really interesting example.
Oh, thanks, Julie. Yeah, I mean, if we remember, October of 2022, John Fetterman couldn't have a conversation with another person. And we know this because this reporter named Dasha Burns from NBC, it was not a partisan in any way, shape, or form, she reports back that, yes, I tried to have small talk with him, conversation. He couldn't do it without closed captioning, and he couldn't understand basic things that I was saying. And she just reported what she saw, like a reporter does. And then people like Kara Swisher and all these other publications wanted her fired for doing her job. So when people say, Joe, why is the media so biased? I think, maybe 60% ideologically are hardcore Democrats. But then I think the other, 35%, they're scared to death that if they don't go along to get along, and if they actually do their job and actually hold Democrats accountable, you're not getting that next contract. You're not getting that next promotion. And the biggest example is Joy Reid, who somehow failed upward to be like an election night co-anchor. Forget opinion person. She's considered a journalist over there, and she only lied about getting hacked and reported to the FBI. Anybody loses their job there, but not Joy. So, yeah, she's mentioned prominently in the book as well.
Joy Reid. What a joy. Joe Concha is our guest. His book, I said it's out July 30th, not realizing, of course, that's today. So congratulations on the launch. Now, let me preempt this because I know on launch day you got a lot of interviews. Can you stick with us for a few more minutes here to talk about the book and what's going on in the world right now?
I will blow off Kilmeade. I will blow off everybody. I will stay with you guys as long as you need.
Kilmeade, please. Oh, God, he's got 8 hours of broadcasting you can tap into. Don't worry about it.
Seriously.
Because you do make the case here. The premise of the book is progressively worse, why today's Democrats ain't your daddy's donkeys. Let me just say, Joe, is it fair to say that a lot of things that we saw from the Republican convention in Milwaukee, a lot of the more populist, maybe even bordering on protectionist policies for American manufacturing that go out there's a lot of things the Republican Party now stand for that maybe our daddy, if our daddy was Ronald Reagan, didn't stand for.
Oh, the script is completely flipped right now. You have Republicans that are the populist party, right, that connect with the type of workers that Joe Biden claimed to in places like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and the swing states and so on. And that's the thing. Like this party, the Democratic Party, did you know that the 40 richest congressional districts in the country are all represented by Democrats?
Wow. that's Country club right? Democrats.
That's right.
And the party of war, by the way. Remember, Democrats were, peace, love, dope, Vietnam, and were staunchly opposed to that, even though it was Democratic presidents that engaged in that war. But the point is now Ukraine just got another, $1.5 billion. We're going to keep that thing going. We could talk 5 years from now, and there'll still be a stalemate on the Eastern Front where Ukraine can't drive out and Russia can't get to the major cities in Ukraine. And we just keep fueling this thing without any thought of maybe we want to negotiate an end to this because nothing's happening. It's a stalemate. But no, Democrats still want to go ahead with this war because I'm not quite sure why, but this is who the party was even 10, 15 years ago.
The only ceasefire that they like is the one that's going to get more Jews killed in Israel for whatever reason. Fill in the blank. All right, Joe, stay with us. We got to do a quick traffic check here. I know you're New Jersey Joe, but you went to University of Maryland. You know how bad the Beltway can be. So we got to check in on that, and then we'll be right back with Joe Concha. His brand new book is out right now, and you should get it. It's Progressively Worse. The book isn't progressively worse. The title of the book is Progressively Worse. It's by Joe Concha, 8:15.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live
from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
We continue with Joe Concha, who is a observer of all things in our culture, but he does specialize in media observations. We used to work at Mediaite years and years ago, although...
That's right.
We like. There's a lot of people there we like. Think about the roster of people who have graduated from Mediaite now. There's the two of us, John Levine, who's just killing it over at the New York Post.
He is.
And
Noah Rothman.
Media observations are important because the media drives so much of the conversation in this country. And when they reveal themselves often to be the propagandists that they are, it's noteworthy. Take a listen to this. Our buddy Tom Elliott at Grabian put together a montage of just the last 24 hours of everyone seemingly spontaneously, originally, creatively deciding that J.D. Vance is weird. Listen.
Some of what he and his running mate are saying, well, it's just plain weird.
These guys are just weird. That's who they are.
As weird and creepy as J.D. Vance.
Super weird idea from J.D. Vance.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's quite weird. Just plain weird.
Just plain
Weird. Just plain weird.
That stuff is weird. They come
Joe,
across weird.
I'm sure you've seen this. It goes on for about 2 minutes. This is, I mean, it's obvious what's happening here, but they don't seem to mind being exposed this way. It's the shamelessness that bugs me.
Yeah.
They just have debased themselves, many in media, so much. I mean, the cheap fake videos, remember that? No, that isn't Joe Biden falling down or wandering off. It's manipulated and edited. You're like, what are you talking about? There's no cuts.
Right, exactly.
Well, when he said his uncle was eaten by cannibals, that wasn't edited. That's verbatim. So these are the people that told us the Steele dossier was real, right? And Hunter Biden's laptop is fake. And Donald Trump's actually an agent of the Kremlin. And I could go on as far as, like, the examples, but they are simply not trusted anymore. It's been like that for years, actually. When I was with The Hill, we looked at all the major newspaper endorsements before the 2016 election. Hillary Clinton got 57 and Donald Trump got 2. And that got her a set of steak knives and a concession speech. So I'm not sure that the media has the influence they used to. They still have some. But I think in the end, when you hear about all this Kamala, momentum, and boy, everybody actually really loves her now. And we even saw panelists on CNN like a month or two ago talking about how Joe Biden may have to ditch Kamala Harris from being vice president on the ticket and replace her with somebody else. And now she's, greatest thing since sliced bread type of thing. But yeah, the whole weird thing, you know what I find weird? I find it weird when my daughter has to compete against biological males in sports. I think that's kind of weird, right? And that's what Kamala supports. Yes. Or I find it weird when Kamala Harris says, I'm open to the idea of murderers and rapists voting from prison, right? So again, you don't get to talk about weird, guys, when you literally replaced a sitting president who did not want to leave, threatened him reportedly with the 25th Amendment. Kamala Harris was ready to go ahead with that unless he got out of there, not because of his health or for the good of the country, because you knew he couldn't win and you wanted a do-over. So, yeah, that's kind of weird.
But, Joe, isn't it, at what point do they actually pay a real tangible price for this? They continue to get the big contracts. They continue to get the great jobs. They continue awarding each other with their Pulitzers. And it's just what they're all talking to each other. They are losing audience. You would think that the corporate, and these are, always say corporate media, Disney, Comcast,
Bud Light.
Who owns CBS? It's all these major corporations that just happen to own these little cable networks as some sort of trinket. You guys over at Fox News do have a hands-on management. They're not part of a giant corporate conglomerate like it used to be. Are there any penalties to be paid at this point? Personally, I would like Donald Trump to stop giving them interviews, but he's a media creature and he somehow gets a kick out of tweaking George Stephanopoulos. But how will we finally defang these people?
Well, in Progressively Worse, the final chapter talks about, the death of CNN. And when I was growing up, early 90s Gulf War, Bernard Shaw hiding under a desk reporting on the attack on Baghdad, I'm like, that's awesome. Like, that's what I want to do. And they were really respected. They were called the spare tire because whenever there was breaking news, you went to CNN like you go to a spare tire when you have a flat. So the reason why I bring this up is CNN tried to have some accountability or show some accountability for people that were cancers within their organization. So they fired Brian Stelter, for example, because he was leaking to the press how horrible Chris Licht was. He was saying it publicly and doing it privately, along with his JV partner, Oliver Darcy. And you got to get rid of people like that because obviously you can't have your network taken down from within. Or Jeffrey Toobin, hands down, the best legal analyst out there. I mean, and then they gave him the shaft. Not quite sure why that was, but there's a lot of wordplay I could go with that one. So we started to see some accountability. And then what happened? The revolt happened. They gave Donald Trump a town hall, not that, because you gave him like 20 of them back in 2016, but now we can't do that in 2023. So once Trump had that town hall with Caitlin Collins, there was a massive result openly. Anderson Cooper went on the air and said, I know that was disturbing to watch for everybody. I don't blame you if you never watch my network again. I'm sorry. If I'm running... You can't say that on the air. I mean, good God. Tapper all of them. So my point is that accountability, Discovery tried it with CNN, let go of some people that were bad for the organization. Saw that, nope, the inmates run the asylum, management has no say, and now I see Stelter on there more than I see most people are actually getting paid to work for the network. I mean, it's just remarkable. I've never seen anything like it. The guy's fired and he's back on the air every night. How does that work? Oh, that's right. Management doesn't control anything anymore. It's the talent, so-called talent anyway. Hi.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Joe?
I'm here.
Oh,
no,
all right. You just dropped there at the end.
Oh, okay. No, I'm still here.
All right. Joe, we got to leave it there, sadly, but it's always great to talk with you. Thank you for that. Congratulations on the book. Good luck with it. And
thanks, guys.
may I just say, stay weird, my friend.
That's not a problem.
Don't ever change. It's not an insult anymore. We should all embrace weird if this is how they're defining it. Thank you, Joe. Joe Concha. Again, the book, Progressively Worse, Why Today's Democrats Ain't Yo Daddy's Donkeys. It's 8:20.
Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 8:37. It's O'Connor and Company coming up in 30 minutes. It's the Chris Plant Show, but we got to talk about white people here. I don't like to. I don't want to. I think it's disgusting that we continue to have to divide each other along racial lines. But listen, it's the Democrats' world, and we're just living in it. And as long as they're in power, as long as they're influencing our politics, our government, our culture, then we got to be segregated, because that's what Democrats do. They segregate. So, Julie, you know, we had the White Women for Harris conference call the other day, the Zoom call that had the woman who literally talks to people like they're kindergartners. You remember her. Here, cut 24. Take a quick listen.
Ariel Fodor, affectionately known as Mrs. Frazzle, to her combined audience of over 1.5 million followers, is here to help gentle parent us through this election.
Gentle parent us.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I am so honored to speak today. I am shaking to just be among such incredible company.
All right, yeah, enough of her.
Oh my
so,
God!
As bad as that was, and I want to keep playing that almost daily to remind everyone how critical. I know it's important, this election, for crime and the border and financial policy and national security and the state of Israel. But honestly, let's really make it hit home. You want to live with that for the next 4 years? That her entire administration is going to be populated with that. These
That's true.
uptight, overeducated white women who talk to you like you're a kindergartner.
And I just want to be clear here that, you know, this is the proverbial cat lady that Vance was talking about. These ultra leftist women who are smug and condescending and will tell you what's best, not just for you, but your children, your marriage, your life, your finances. You want this? Vote for Kamala.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but I think it may have gotten worse than the White Women for Harris, because yesterday was white dudes for Kamala. It was a Zoom call of...
Talk about weird.
But yeah. Oh, man. And by the way, I should say, because, listen, when you pay for branding rights to something, like, you know, FedEx wanted to make sure that whenever you mentioned a football game here in Washington, you were mentioning their brand, FedEx. So I should also point out, since the money was spent and it's well invested, this was obviously brought to you by Acme Soy Products.
I thought it was Bud Light.
That Bud Light could have been they weren't a name brand. There were a couple of breaks. Yeah. No, my favorite white dude for Kamala is in fact Dylan Mulvaney. On the white dude Zoom call, we had, first, let's start with just your typical woke soy boy liberal who, I guess they're all trying to grow facial hair now to show you that, no, I'm not full of estrogen. Look at me. I can grow a beard, but not really, dude. I don't know who this is, but this is cut 23. And the best way, when you're gathering white dudes in one place to promote an idea and coalesce around something, it's always wise to immediately attack masculinity. I don't know about you, but here, take a listen and be sold on Kamala with this winning message.
And that happens at the same time as the myths around America that we grew up with, that we as men are expected to be protectors and providers, are going out into an economy that doesn't really allow for that, especially for working class folks. And sort of like compounding on that, masculinity as a trope has been co-opted by the MAGA right into something that feeds into and exacerbates the loneliness epidemic, as well as the mental health crisis that many face that end up leading to really destructive behaviors.
Oh.
We aren't the only ones that are hurt by these things. Black and brown people, LGBTQIA plus
yeah, I mean,
people.
honestly, forget Bud Light. This was brought to you by Playtex. Honestly, it's just Kotex. This is ridiculous.
White dudes for Kamala, brought to you by your favorite feminine hygiene product. No, nothing says real masculinity like a dude with a scrawny beard, a man bun,
Yes.
sitting in what appears to be a New York studio apartment, telling you about what it's like to be the common man, the working man.
Yeah, and
yet
telling
they make
you that,
they make fun of J.D. Vance as weird,
Right. And basically explaining how he has no responsibility to protect more vulnerable populations. This is how you get men in women's spaces. Okay.
Yes,
when
that's right.
when men totally cede the idea that women are physically less powerful and do need protections in certain spaces, this is how you get there.
So the other thing that you want to do when you're doing a bunch of white men gathering for a political cause, after you've attacked the idea of masculinity and whined about what it actually is, then you bring in one of the most famous gay men in America.
Of course.
New dad Pete Buttigieg, to tell you how important it is to get Kamala Harris in there so you don't have to worry about getting a woman pregnant. Listen.
I'm so glad she has made freedom the theme of her campaign, because I think in so many ways that's what's at stake. And yes, women's freedom is Exhibit A after Donald Trump demolished the right to choose. But of course, men are also more free in a country where we have a president who stands up for things like access to abortion care.
There you go. I mean, men are more free when abortion is legal, so you can go screw around however you want, and there will be no consequences. Come on, guys. Don't you want abortion to be legal so you can be as irresponsible and disgusting as possible?
Yes.
Coming from the gay man who I'm told doesn't even have sex with women, but he does rent out a womb so he can have a baby without the benefit of a woman.
And this is how you become a crazy cat lady.
Yes.
You become involved with someone like that who doesn't value you, who doesn't value sex, who doesn't value children, who just wants to have sex with you, throw you away, and have you get an abortion so that you're not a burden to them.
There was an unofficial Zoom call among black influencers, men and women, not segregated along gender lines, sexual lines. And they had a free-flowing, open conversation about politics and about who they're choosing. One of the women said, I'm voting for Kamala because she's a black woman, and that's it. And the response she got is something you need to hear. And all of those men on the white dudes for Harris need to hear it, too. And you're going to hear it next.
Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
I'm going to just be real honest with this. She's a black woman.
Yeah. There you go. That's the woman on this Zoom call of YouTube influencers, African-American YouTube influencers. They're all sort of Zoomers or young millennials. And that's a woman saying, I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I'm going to vote for her because she's black. And then I want you to listen to what Anton Daniels says in response, because this is more policy-oriented, more sound reasoning, and better communications than you heard on that entire debacle known as the white dudes for Kamala Zoom call that they did last night, where it was all about the and the white women for Harris, by the way, which was all about the feelings and the let's not annoy or get in the way of our BIPOC allies who are, it's like all that. No, listen to Anton Daniels, cut 26, cut right to the heart of it.
Do you not see how that's a bad idea?
Elaborate.
Okay, so we're in 3 proxy wars with some of the most powerful leaders in the world. She failed at the border, in which we have an estimation of 15 to 20 million people illegally into this country. That is literally overtaking and bankrupting Chicago to the tune of over $400 million per year, and they are in a deficit. Oakland is going out of business. San Francisco, ditto. California, $65 billion deficit. New York, they're literally cutting trash, in which they are the rattiest, dirtiest city, and they've taken up resources as far as free healthcare, free hotels to the tune of $600 a day. They're literally taking over your schools. Your taxpayer dollars are going to fund the migrant crisis. She was supposed to be in charge of this. We have a failing economy. Every single day I see people getting on the internet talking about $30 an hour is the new minimum wage because inflation is out of control. At one point, it was at almost 10%, depending on what city that you in.
Now, I don't know about you, but I've already subscribed to Anton Daniels' YouTube account because I want more of this.
Yes.
And he's got more, by the way. And if the Trump campaign is listening, they should reach out to this man for an interview. And I don't even know if he's a Republican or not. I doubt he is.
Yeah.
But this is the actual kind of political conversation that does need to take place. Not J.D. Vance is weird, or this is the end of our democracy. It's like, no. These are real things that are affecting all of our lives. It's suddenly become people like Anton Daniels and other influencers on YouTube and other alternative media outlets who are actually talking about the stuff that matters in this election. Cut 27. Here. Yeah. Hold that thought, Julie. You can finish up here. Go ahead.
She has no policy, no record to stand on. One of the biggest things that she did in her career was lock up more black men than ever before. But we sitting here and vote her in office on identity politics. The very person that she was under as far as the president of the United States of America, she called him racist during a debate, which shows you how fake she is. And the only thing that we can stand on from a policy perspective is whether or not she's black and she's a woman. We did that during the Obama administration, and he didn't do anything for black people. As a matter of fact, y'all complain because the only person that he did, or the only group of people that he really stood for, is the alphabet community, and that's his landmark thing that he's still standing on today. So the only thing that we have to stand on is identity politics. It didn't work with Tiffany Henyard in Dayton, Illinois. It didn't work with Karen Bass. It didn't work with Lori Lightfoot in Chicago. It didn't work with Brandon Johnson that then took over her position in Chicago. It didn't work with Andre Dickens in Atlanta. It didn't work with Eric Adams in New York. It doesn't work across the country. Every single Democratic city is a hellhole. And we sitting here talking about identity politics?
I mean, I honestly,
it's incredible. It's incredible. Bravo to him. The thing that marked the white cat lady call and the men's maxi pad call, was it was boring. It was all groupthink. They were all patting each other on the back. It was boring, boring, boring stuff. What that guy just said was interesting. It was policy focused. It was looking at their records. It was really interesting stuff. So I want more of those conversations. Not more of these people all agreeing with them with each other.
I'm sorry. Men's maxi pad call?
Yeah, I'm brought to you by Playtex. That's what they're all, yeah.
Julie Gunlock's having a day. I'm here for it. It's 8:50. That's a wrap, Julie Gunlock. Thank you so much. Coming up next, it's the Chris Plant Show, and we'll have a full breakdown of today's Senate hearing on the Secret Service and the FBI and the assassination attempt of Donald Trump tomorrow.